Today, we're going to be taking a look at the SH Figuarts Dragon Ball Z Games Begin Goku. Yes, the new 3.0, 4.0, I don't know, people haven't really decided. Goku, this is the first version of it. They've since announced a base version of it. A version of it that is when he kind of has the torn up shirt on from the Frieza saga. And then Blue and God. Yeah, they announced like 5 versions of this guy instantly. Understandable, by the way. Very understandable. And they've announced like a Vegeta. There's a Vegeta coming too. Can't wait for that guy. But this is the box. There's one difference, which is this little dynamic movable shoulder system. Woo! Usual stuff on the box. Honestly, not really anything intriguing. It's the same old when it comes to the box. So let's get them out and show the accessories. And so here is Goku in the packaging. Look at that. Hands, an actual good selection, an alternate hairpiece, and separate faces. Who could have seen this coming? Anyway, let's get them out. And so here we have Goku out of the packaging, and oh boy, is this a vast, and I mean vast improvement over our other option. There he is with the original version of Super Saiyan Goku, the Super Saiyan Full Power. I want to just say how night and day of a comparison this is. Now, while this one's a little bit taller, this one is so much more accurate. This body works for early Goku, if we're being honest. The, like, Frieza and Saiyan Saga area of time. But when it came to the Cell Saga, Goku was massive at that point. He's a lot skinnier here, and it also, I think, kind of works for the God as well, for how slender it is. But this was too slender for Goku. It really was. And there's just a lot of better things. And this is going to mostly be a comparison type thing, because it's hard to go from this one, which has been Goku for the last little bit, to here's the brand new mold who comes in and does everything so much better. So the first thing that's a little off, and I'm just going to comment on, is the little wristbands. They are a completely different color from the rest of him. I don't know why they're a little bit more on the lighter blue compared to this being more dark blue, and then this is a different blue from that blue. The boots are usually a different blue, so that's completely fine with me, but yeah, one of the main differences here is this guy actually has a rubber shirt, which is nice, but also kind of problematic because it can pull out a little too far and start showing the shoulder joints, which is an issue. But he does have infinitely better shoulders, whereas this one here has these little ball-jointed sleeves, which just suck because they'd move, and then it just looks ugly. And one other vast improvement is the knee joint look. This looks ugly. This does not look ugly. And that is your looks department. I mean, realistically, these guys are super, super different in their looks. Like, they're trying to be the exact same thing. But I feel like this one fails. This one also has the better coloration for the Super Saiyan hair, which is the more kind of pale yellow. They've been using a lot more of the recent Super Saiyan figures, whereas that one has the kind of old bright yellow, like the dandelion yellow, which just isn't as good. But that's the comparison, so let's just get into the figure's looks, and it's Goku. I mean, there's a reason that they went and made every Goku instantly with this mold. I don't know if they're ever going to top this mold, if I'm being honest. Yes, I know there was the third-party ones, but I think this one might have killed them. I don't own them because they're so stupidly expensive, but yeah, this thing's great for the price you're paying. It is a standard figure pricing. There's no, like, oh, he's not $100 and some dollars. He's like 50 Canadian. So, honestly, worth it in my opinion. The big changes, as I mentioned, are the knee joints here, which they're now a single-jointed knee instead of the double. But if I'm being honest, I'm pretty sure he gets more range with that knee than this guy gets with his. I think. A little bit, just a tad. But it's the same thing, and it looks a lot less ugly than the double-jointed one did, so there's that. This guy does have a couple issues, one of which his arms love to fall off. That's not exclusive to mine. That happens with everybody's. And another one I've seen is the face. Now, mine came with the face and bangs off in the box. Like, that's how it arrived. And then I looked, and there was a lot of, like, plastic buildup in the ports by the ears. So there's usually, like, these little ugly gaps, which kind of are on mine as well. But, yeah, I kind of fixed it. I took some tweezers and kind of scraped it all out, so hopefully it's good now. The faces also look infinitely better on this guy than that old one. Not even close. In a comparison there, the old guy has probably some of the worst faces for any figure art from the Dragon Ball line, so, you know, makes sense. But obviously there's a lot more to talk about here than just the figure, because he also comes with a quintillion different accessories, because of course he does, and it's all of your standard affair type of things, so let's get into it. So, first up we have hands, starting with the fists, of course. He then comes with two pretty generic Goku hands, that being the stance and then also his instant transmission hand, or special beam cannon. He can't do that, but special beam cannon hand. Yes, I know, it's the transmission. I just said it was. I just want to make sure. But, yep, there we go. Instant transmission. There's his arm. There it goes. The popping off of the arm I mentioned comes off really, really easy. So I don't know what's up with that. And then we have Goku's kind of grasp and then his more open hand. Obviously one's more of a Kamehameha, which this guy doesn't come with, which is a little unfortunate, but what are you going to do? And that concludes the hands. So next up we have our faces, which first and foremost, the neutral face, which as I mentioned, 10 times better than that old one. This one actually looks like Goku, so there is that. We then have his teeth grit face, which is looking to the left, which is, yeah. I'm not a big fan of the directional look faces, if I'm being honest. And there goes the face. So as I mentioned, it doesn't stay on too good. Sometimes it's really dependent. It's the standard swap out for Goku that it's always been. You kind of really have to make sure those ears are pegged in. That's the main thing. But that's the, you know, the angry-ish face. We then have his yelling face, which, yeah, I mean, has to come with that. No other face. You know, I mean, he comes with the typical three of teeth, grit, yell, and your standard neutral, and at least this one is looking straight on, so that's good. And then there's one more, which is another carryover from the original, which is his kind of happy face from the Cell games, where he just went Super Saiyan without, you know, the combat stuff going on. He just was chilling. And this one is not as ugly. I think it looks a lot better if you look at it from the side on and not straight, but it's probably the worst of the bunch. And I think it's mostly because there's not as much detailing at the brow, and that's kind of the thing, because there's a bit more sculpting up here by the brow on the others, and this is just more of a straight, flat forehead. So that's kind of, I think, where the issue comes from, is it just looks way too plain up at the top. That's my only thing with it. And as said, to swap the faces, it is so easy, except for possibly cutting yourself on the hair, which is, as always, very sharp, especially at those little back parts here are always sharp. And then there is one more accessory, which is something we don't typically get. Well, we weren't typically getting. We now get them actually pretty frequently. And that is an alternate hairpiece which pegs on in a different way. So the way that this one works is they've actually changed how the peg orients. So originally it was always like this, but with the new neck system they have going here, it actually goes in backwards. So kind of gotta get it in there somehow. It likes to hinge, so you always kind of got to do it from the side. And there we go. And then we can take another face. I actually have not used this piece yet, so I don't know how this one's going to act with the face plates compared to the original. Like I said, the original one is kind of iffy. This one looks pretty solid. I'm probably going to have him posed up with this one on, honestly, because I always have him kind of like he's in motion. I like that one. That one's also pretty sick. I mean, they're both good, but I kind of like the motion on that one. It's very, very nice. And then this one here, you can just put in the box as generic Goku hair. And that one just looks pretty good. I like the look of that. And that concludes the accessories. He has every standard accessory that they typically come with. Nothing too crazy. And now we get into possibly the biggest thing with this figure, which is the articulation. How articulate is this guy? Dear God, is this guy just so good for the articulation. For the head articulation, you have some good side to side. Good motion there. He can actually look up. That's the whole thing with that new neck joint, is he can now look up a lot better than initially possible with the older style. The older style cannot look up that much. He kind of has to do it at the back. But with this guy, there's a little bit more we'll get to with that as well for the looking up. But the arms go forward and back. He does have a butterfly joint, which is pretty solid. It goes forward and back. Outward, swivel at the bicep, double elbow, rotation at the wrist. And it's the typical wrist joint. So nothing too crazy there. The waist has some very good side-to-side motion. But on top of said side-to-side motion, look at the ab crunch. Now, it does cause an unfortunate gap to occur at the back, but not really much you can do about it. And then with this here, the same thing will happen. But as I mentioned, with the flight, since he has such a good forward and back crunch now, he can like actually look like he's flying a lot more than he could have in the past. So that's really cool. He, of course, has the newer 3.0 style legs, so they have a lot more range forward and back. And the outward, this is more of a rubber skirt area, which is good. The swivel at the thigh is great. And then, as I mentioned, it's now only a single-jointed knee, but that single-jointed knee has the exact same, if not better, articulation than the original double-jointed at a much better cost of looking better. It looks 10 times better. I remember when people first seen those on the Daima figures, and they were like, oh, you know, it seems like they're cheaping out. They're not going with double-jointed, but quite frankly, these are so much better than that double-jointed. Like I said, the look of the double-jointed knees just suck in some cases. Like this guy, it might be just where he's a bit older, but they just kind of suck sometimes. So this being keeping the detailing of the pants and then still being able to do the articulation is great. One of the weirder articulation points on the figure is his boots having a hinge in there. For what reason? I don't know, but they're there. He then has the toe bend, and then, of course, your standard ankle articulation. So, just from a movement standpoint, this guy is so much better. Just, he feels a lot better to articulate. He feels like he can pull way more poses. He can pose a lot deeper. He just has so much better articulation than this old guy. This guy here is now completely obsolete. He's the first figuart I'm just going to put in the box and probably leave him because there's no selling him at this point, right? There's no selling him. Everybody's getting rid of him at this point. Nobody needs that guy anymore. Everybody's going to have this one. That's how it's probably going to work out. But this guy is just such an upgrade. So let's just get to the final thoughts here. I don't even know really what to say. This thing is just perfect. It is the perfect SH Figuarts Goku. Nothing more needs to be said. It is the perfect one. There's just nothing... Like, there's a couple small things, of course, like the shirt that's a little annoying and the arm falling off. I don't have the arm fall off constantly. I know there's people out there that have it happen a lot more than I do. Mine only falls off some of the time. The other thing is the head. I think that's more of a case-by-case, but if you do get it, just make sure if yours faces aren't going in, just clear out these little side ear holes, because that's where the ear pegs would go into on the faces. So just clear them out. But... man, this thing is so good. It is so good. Because one of the things with my Dragon Ball collection I've always kind of hated is Goku had such a mid-figure. It genuinely, like, he had such a mid-figure compared to everybody else. He now has, in my opinion, one of the best that I own. I don't see them topping it. Like I said, I don't know if they'd ever top this Goku. They went out and made almost every version of Goku that they could. Instantly, like right away. Most of the Dragon Ball releases coming up are looking like Goku because, like I said, they just announced God and Blue, and they already announced the base form of this beforehand, and then the other one was a premium Bandai, which was the one with the blue shirt, and then the top of the gi's gone. It's just the shirt, which is another figure I feel like a lot of people wanted because there was an older version that kind of just looks outdated at this point. And then they announced a new Vegeta as well. So things are getting serious out here for these remakes. But man, this was a needed one. And this one is such a welcome one. I'm going to give him a 5 out of 5. And his accessories are great. Again, he comes with what he should come with. The only thing I wish he did come with was a Kamehameha effect. But those typically only come with the more expensive Gokus, which is a shame. But overall, this is a highly recommend. I can't recommend this guy enough. If you are getting into figuarts or you're looking to get into SH Figuarts Dragon Ball, this probably be the one I go with right off the bat. It's a cheaper figure from the line, and it's a Goku. You can't go wrong with that. You literally can. It's a double of, yeah, you know what? He's really good. It's Goku, and he's not that expensive compared to other figuart releases. This is it. This is the one. I think he is great, and honestly, again, another top figure of the year, weirdly enough. But that has been my review of the SH Figuarts Super Saiyan Goku. The games begin. This has been Elton Elite signing out.